I am back with Preet Marwaha, and we're doing part 2 on feeding, nourishing our brain. And last time we ended on just starting to get into what damages the brain. And so today we're going to pick it up with this big S topic. Sugar.
That was an S. Right?
S. Big S, exactly.
Let's talk about sugar.
Yeah,
because,
yes, we know white sugar is bad, but there's so much more to the story. So right. I think you need to fill it out for us.
Right. So when we think about sugar, let's just define sugar quickly.
Thank you.
Sugar in the world of food science, that context is defined as a poison because that's what it does in the body.
Right.
It's a poison. And sugar comes in lots of different forms.
Right.
We got obviously the processed refined sugars, your white sugars, your brown sugars, your table sugars, your corn syrups, rice syrups, whatever forms those come in. You've got all the artificial sweeteners, your aspartames, your equals, your NutraSweets, your Splendas, all of these things. These are all, very, very toxic. So avoid them like you would avoid the plague.
Huh.
That's really the best thing I can say. And
avoid
then we've got
them like Javex. Yeah. A friend of mine said you'd never drink Javex.
That's right.
So think of it in the same category.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And then we've got all these other foods that are, everything from your cookies, your cereals, to breads, to processed rices, to processed grains, to flours, chocolate bars, candies, fruit juices, soda pops, little juice boxes, just fruit snacks that we give our kids. All of these things have so much sugar added to them that we don't even realize the damage that they're doing inside of our body.
Can you say just a smidgen on what you say it's damaging the brain?
Yes. So let's walk through that.
Yeah.
Let's walk what happens. So you get excess sugar coming into the body. And this is really important with people who have children in their lives. Really, really important. And grandchildren. So excess sugar comes into the body in whatever form that it comes in.
Right.
It creates an insulin response.
Right.
So the pancreas sends out insulin. It goes out and starts pulling out all the sugar from the bloodstream because it doesn't want it in there.
Okay.
That actually creates a condition called low blood sugar.
Right.
Which is, we think is the opposite of actually what would happen if we put lots of sugar into our body. When your body goes into a low blood sugar state, the adrenal system kicks in. Mm-hmm. So we get epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, all being produced by your body to help manage low blood sugar. Mm. When that happens, the brain starts to release glutamate.
Okay.
Now, glutamate is a very powerful neurotransmitter. It's very essential for the brain and its communication and functions. However, when it starts dumping it in excess like that, it becomes a neurotoxin.
Oh.
So between the glutamate being dumped and the epinephrine, norepinephrine, and the cortisol being created, we create this state in the body called hyperactivity. Which is really important to understand in children.
Yes.
In addition to that, that state also starts to kill the neurons in the brain. So literally what happens is the brain starts this excitation, so to speak, because of the glutamate, and it'll actually stimulate the neurons and stimulate the neurons until they die.
So it's the overstimulation.
Right.
Got it.
From the release of glutamate.
Right.
So that's, in a nutshell, what happens when you put excess sugar in our body. It is very, very damaging to the brain. And then we get into the cortisol, and cortisol is extremely damaging as the glutamate is. And there's so many studies are being done now on excess cortisol in the body and how it affects the brain.
Which is when we're in a hyper alert or...
Excess sugar causes cortisol.
As well, okay. As
release.
Well as all the stress.
All the stress and everything else. But the amount of cortisol that's created due to excess sugar is actually greater in the average person than the stress-related cortisol.
Wow, okay.
And Yale has done an incredible study, as has quite a few other universities, around what happens simply from the cortisol that is created in children from the consumption of excess sugar. So excess sugar, excess cortisol, and what they're finding is after about 3 years, there's noticing somewhere between a 3 to 5% atrophy of the brain in these children.
After how long?
3 years.
Wow. So
we're talking, so if you get a 5% atrophy of the brain, this is like an actual, this is just not some damage happening. This is the brain shrinking.
Instead of growing in a healthy way, yeah.
And that's simply because of excess sugar. So that's why sugar is so damaging. It's so, yeah, I mean, the whole industry is irresponsible for the amount of sugar that's putting into our foods, and ways that we're deceiving the consumers.
Yes.
People don't even realize how much sugar is added to their product.
No, we have no awareness.
We trust what's on the shelves and we just buy it thinking, oh, it's got to be good for us.
Yeah. Okay. So sugar is clearly the first on the list.
First on the list.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the refined carbs and all that stuff.
Yes.
And anything else?
Yeah, then we get into this world of kind of I call sort of excitotoxins and neurotoxins, and they come in a lot of different forms as well. So everything from alcohol, caffeine, MSG is a big one.
Okay.
So we're all understand MSG and we do lots of things to avoid MSG. What we don't understand is MSG comes in lots of different forms. So, if I could probably spew out like 49 different terms and words that are used on packaging
Okay.
and in foods to mimic MSG and not be MSG.
Right.
So there's some interesting laws around the labeling of MSG, which we don't have a lot of time to get into. But we see words like extracts, yeast extracts, things like caseins, things like added gluten, things like added protein isolates, these kinds of things on foods. They're all different forms of what we call free glutamic acid, which is the same thing as what MSG does in the body.
Okay.
So to get away from the sort of bad name that MSG has gotten, the industry's found different ways to get the same effect, same thing into our body without the use of MSG.
Yeah, because many of us are already aware of MSG, and so we're clear on avoiding that.
Right.
And now we don't know what else.
And when you think about MSG, MSG is monosodium glutamate. The mono is simply just the bond that's being described. Sodium, we know sodium, and so the damaging part in that is actually the glutamate.
There it is.
Right? The same thing we just talked about with sugar and the release of glutamate from the brain. That's the damaging factor. So all of these processed foods, these flavorings, these seasonings, these spices and so forth, preservatives, are all based on free glutamic acid
Okay,
in
so
the
now
body.
we get into all the spicing. I'm just starting to
Right.
connect the dots.
Food colorings.
Yeah, the steak
Preservatives.
spices and
All
all
of these
that
things,
stuff,
right.
rather than pure elements.
Yes. And the way that the way that the industry is created and the labeling laws are created, if you don't have 99% pure MSG in a product, you don't have to label it.
I see.
So this is how they get away with all this stuff. And then we've got all these other brand names of things, like Ajinomoto and a lot of these tamaris and soy sauces and all these things, right? They're all got all this stuff in it. It's all free glutamic acid that's being created in the body.
Okay, let's go to do's, because I can feel people starting to go, oh my God, there's nothing in my house that I can actually eat,
Right.
or no seasonings. Does organic tamari help?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Speak about what
so it's again being conscious about what we're buying, being a little more responsible around reading the labels of the products that we're buying. I know it's a difficult habit because we get to the grocery store. It's how quickly can I get stuff into my cart and get out.
Right.
We need to take that extra 5-10 minutes and start reading every single label if we're buying boxes and cans and packages
Right.
of products. And you want to start looking for things that are added that you don't understand,
Right.
you can't pronounce.
Yes.
So start with simple things like that.
I love that book, Food Rules.
Yeah.
Because if you can't pronounce it or your grandmother would not recognize it, it's out.
It's out.
That's a very fun, simple way.
And then all of a sudden our shopping cart has much less processed, preserved, garbage in it, right? We're buying more things from produce,
Right.
Vegetables, those kinds of things. And you can buy good, healthy snack foods as well. Buy K-Pasa tortilla chips if you need tortilla chips. They're made with non-GMO corn and no preservatives and those kinds of things. So you can buy healthy cookies, you can buy healthy crackers, you can buy healthy beverages. So there's lots of options out there. It's making the transition to healthier things.
Right.
Right.
And that's a really good place to pause. I know we're just about out of time. But I think I'd like to really do a third part, because I'd love people to hear how children in schools are responding to this information, because I think in some ways, us oldies, we need to be re-excited about this. In a lot of ways, food isn't, it's almost old hat,
Yeah.
but to get re-excited and to feel the shifts that kids are making as they're discovering, I think is really good for our world and for people to know about. So let's stop there,
Sure.
and we'll do a third part with you sharing some of the yummy, juicy stories as you've been working with kids in schools.
Awesome. Would love that.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.